How many more fights would you say? I know you said maybe one, but come on.
I don't know, 1, 2.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not one of those guys. I told you, I'm not one of those guys who's gonna be fighting until I'm 45 and I'm punchy.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how? He fought in one division. He had a
but
WBC,
he didn't fight off
WBA.
He wasn't undisputed. He wasn't undisputed.
He wasn't. No, what I'm saying is they already called him a weight bully. He beat Kell Brook coming off a loss, an eye injury. He beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
You know what I mean? That's a good win. I'm still a fan. I hope he do well. But like, once it got to the point where I moved up in weight and I'm in the same weight as Spence, it's just like, oh man, you ain't fighting nobody. You this, you that, you this, you that. So now they trying to blame it.
Terence Crawford fired back at Errol Spence Jr. with a taunting response after Spence unexpectedly called for a rematch. Crawford doesn't see Spence as a real challenge, just a quick payday, since he believes the outcome would be the same, if not even worse, than their first fight. Their rivalry, which many assumed was over after Spence was brutally knocked out 2 years ago, seems to be heating up again.
My accomplishment just to boost him up. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna do that, because I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. Everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him. I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got right now.
Spence is preparing for his return to the ring, and out of all the options available, he's decided to go after Crawford again. This wasn't entirely his own decision. He was pushed into it after hearing Crawford's comments on a podcast. Crawford questioned Spence's qualifications for the International Boxing Hall of Fame, a remark that Spence and many other boxing professionals found disrespectful. They believe Spence's accomplishments, bouncing back from a severe car crash, defeating elite opponents, and unifying 3 welterweight titles, make him more than worthy of recognition.
Is there ever a possibility where you would rematch Errol Spence? Or is he in a position where he needs to win again before that makes sense for you?
The possibility is there.
I'm walking over my feet. You know, I want to get out the game. I got kids, got a mom and dad, and you know, they want to enjoy me. So
Spence believes that a single loss shouldn't keep him from Hall of Fame recognition, nor should his defeat against Crawford erase his 28 wins and 22 knockouts. But instead of debating, Spence is determined to settle things in the ring. He's focused on taking down Crawford, the first boxer to become undisputed in 2 weight classes during the 4-belt era. In Spence's mind, a victory over Crawford would end any doubts about his Hall of Fame status. In response to Crawford's criticism, he called for a rematch. But Crawford fired back with a brutal reply, dismissing Spence as easy money.
You know, everything got to come to the end, and you know, sadly, this definitely got to come to the end. So I'm definitely gonna get out while I still can, and not either be forced out or I have to keep fighting because I need money.
Add one more belt though.
The boxing community is currently debating whether Errol Spence Jr. deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. This discussion gained momentum after Spence's former rival, 2-division undisputed champion Terence Crawford, shared his thoughts on the Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo. Crawford made it clear that if he retired today, his accomplishments would guarantee him a place in the Hall of Fame. However, he wasn't so sure about Spence's chances, pointing out that while Spence is still working towards certain achievements, Crawford has already secured them. When asked to elaborate, Crawford began breaking down Spence's career, sparking even more debate.
Showed a lot of poise, broke him down, and was able to stop him at the end.
Everybody's wondering what's going on with you and Terence Crawford. This fight gonna happen?
I think it's gonna happen. We both want to fight. I want to fight. He wants to fight, and you know, it's going down to negotiations. So I definitely gonna get the fight this year, and we're gonna square off this year with the biggest fight in boxing.
It is the biggest fight in boxing. Where and when, if you were guessing?
I don't know where, I don't know when, but it's definitely going to be this year.
All right.
Crawford defended his stance by pointing out that Spence only competed in 1 division, never became undisputed, and was even labeled a weight bully by some. He also noted that Spence's win over Kell Brook came after Brook had already suffered a loss and an eye injury. Since the podcast aired, Crawford's comments have sparked major backlash from fans and experts. Now, former WBO super featherweight champion Jamal Herring has weighed in on the debate. While Herring made it clear that he respects Crawford, he disagrees with his take. He argued that Spence was a unified champion in one of boxing's most competitive divisions and went on to explain why he believes Spence's accomplishments deserve recognition.
For his title, I'm fighting for a title, and there's a possibility. He win his fight, God willing. I win my fight, God willing. And there's your possibility right there.
Herring pointed out that Spence unified all the welterweight titles by defeating every reigning champion in the division, contradicting Crawford's claim. He emphasized that none of Spence's title wins came from vacant belts, as he beat champions like Kell Brook, Sean Porter, and Yordenis Ugas. The 39-year-old also highlighted Spence's victories over Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia, with the latter being especially significant since it came after Spence's life-threatening car crash. Beyond his wins, Herring praised Spence for packing arenas, selling pay-per-views, and carrying the welterweight division during his prime. To wrap up, Herring made it clear, losing one fight to an elite opponent like Crawford doesn't erase Spence's achievements. In his view, Spence has done more than enough to earn a spot in the Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, one of Spence Jr.'s former opponents, Yordenis Ugas, has also weighed in on the debate. Ugas and Spence fought in April 2022, before Crawford ended Spence's undefeated streak. In that bout, Spence secured a 10th-round TKO victory, leaving Ugas with an injured eye. Despite the loss, Ugas holds no resentment toward Spence. In response to Crawford's comments, he shared his thoughts on social media, tweeting, "I even think if Errol Spence Jr. were to retire today, he'd be a Hall of Famer." Like Herring, the Cuban boxer praised Spence for overcoming major setbacks, including his car crash and eye surgery, to win championships. He also acknowledged Spence's resilience, saying, "He badly injured my eye, but that's boxing." Ugas expressed his honor in sharing the ring with Spence Jr. and said he still hopes to see him return to boxing. "Fighters are opponents, not enemies," he concluded. For years, fans had been calling for a showdown between Crawford and Spence, ever since Crawford won the WBO welterweight title with a TKO victory over Jeff Horn in June 2018. However, a major roadblock stood in the way: rival promoters. Crawford was signed with Top Rank, while Spence was with PBC, two companies that rarely do business together. Things finally opened up when Crawford became a free agent after defeating Sean Porter by 10th-round TKO in November 2021. This cleared the way for negotiations, and both sides spent much of the following year working toward a deal. By September, an agreement was nearly finalized, but at the last moment, talks fell apart.
Man, I got a lot of skill sets I feel like advantage over him. But at the end of the day, I feel like this fight is basically so even. You know, it's going to be more about just being more focused and, you know, not getting out of focus, especially in the later rounds, just making sure, staying on point all throughout the fight and making sure you don't lose focus, because that's how...
Crawford kept his momentum going with a spectacular 6th-round knockout of David Avanzian in December, fighting in front of his hometown crowd in Omaha, Nebraska. Meanwhile, Spence, who hails from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, last fought in April 2022, securing a 10th-round TKO victory over Yordenis Ugas in Arlington, Texas, to claim his third welterweight title. That fight marked Spence's return after undergoing surgery in August 2021 to repair a detached retina. He had originally been scheduled to face the legendary Manny Pacquiao that same month but was forced to withdraw due to the injury. Despite these setbacks, Spence proved his resilience once again, just as he did after surviving a serious car crash in October 2019 that nearly ended his career. 14 months later, he returned to dominate Danny Garcia by decision. While many fighters have been forced to retire after suffering a detached retina, Spence made a successful comeback, much like Sugar Ray Leonard in the 1980s, and even went on to break Ugas' orbital bone in their fight.
Nothing really surprised me. He was just like I thought. It just, my timing wasn't good today.
Questions for Errol Spence Jr.?
Hey, Errol, Keith Heidick from BoxingScene.com. What do you attribute your timing not being there to? Did you feel off physically or anything, or what was wrong in the fight?
Woo!
Conversation about Spence's Hall of Fame status began after Terence Crawford defeated Errol Spence Jr. to claim the undisputed welterweight championship on July 29, 2023, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, in front of a sold-out crowd of 19,990 fans. Crawford dominated the fight and won by 9th-round technical knockout, making history as the first undisputed welterweight champion since 2006. He also became the first male boxer in the four-belt era to achieve undisputed status in 2 different weight divisions. This victory marked Crawford's 11th consecutive finish, with 9 of those knockouts coming in the 6th round or later.
Your timing not being there too, did you feel off physically or anything, or what was wrong in the fight?
Yeah, felt a little off physically, but most times I get through it. So, I thought it was gonna be just like the other times, but I couldn't kick it up a notch.
This victory, however, was Crawford's most impressive performance yet, as he put on a boxing masterclass and practically dominated from start to finish. Crawford dropped Spence in the 2nd round, a position Spence had never been in before, as he had never been knocked down in his entire career. By the end of the fight, Spence had been dropped 3 times, a similar fate to Devin, the Dream, Haney, who also suffered 3 knockdowns on his way to his first career loss. Crawford finished the fight in dominant fashion, landing an impressive 60% of his power shots and 42% of his jabs. His 87 landed jabs were the most Spence had ever taken in a fight.
I always tell everybody, I don't go in there looking for the knockout. I go looking for the win. But if he get out of line, he's going to be the next one down.
The fight began with Spence taking control early, applying pressure and trying to set the pace. Crawford, known for being a slow starter, was more cautious, waiting for the right moments to counter. He showed his skill late in the 1st round when Spence overreached, and Crawford quickly took advantage, landing a strong left hand. It was a preview of the tactical chess match many expected in the early rounds, with Spence looking to control the action and Crawford picking his spots. In the 2nd round, Spence was able to keep the pressure on with a combination of movement, a consistent jab, and relentless attack. His style caused problems for Crawford early on, as Spence tried to maintain control of the fight.
I'm about to take my belt off then.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Errol?
You don't need more than the belt. I don't know what you talking about. I ain't one of your kids.
I'm gonna treat
need more than the belt. I ain't one of your kids.
I'm gonna treat you like one.
Yeah, all right, we gonna see.
All right, we definitely gonna see.
And there they are, ladies and gentlemen. It's the main event of the evening. Brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions. 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed welterweight championship of the world.
Turning point came in the 2nd round, when Crawford landed a powerful straight left jab that dropped Spence for the first time in his career, stunning both the fighter and the crowd. As the fight went on, Crawford's power began to take its toll. In the 4th round, a big overhand left and a series of brutal jabs landed flush, hurting Spence and continuing the dominant performance by the 35-year-old. Crawford's success carried into the 5th round, as he repeatedly backed Spence up with his sharp accuracy, speed, and textbook counterpunching. By then, it was clear, it wasn't a matter of if the fight would end, but when. Crawford dropped Spence 2 more times before finishing the fight with a 9th round TKO, sealing his place in history.
I got feel for his power, probably like 1st, 2nd round. He's a strong dude, but everybody at this top level have some type of power. But I think because my time was out, he was catching me in between shots.
I get to say I told y'all. Because I've been asking for these fights for years. And y'all been saying, oh, he's too small. He's going to get this. He's going to get broken.
I only dreamed of being a world champion. I'm an overachiever. Nobody believed in me when I was coming up, but I made everyone a believer, Crawford said after the fight. He took a moment to thank Spence and his team, acknowledging, without him, none of this would be possible for me here tonight. Crawford went on to express how much the victory meant to him, especially considering the obstacles he faced along the way. It means everything because of who I took the belts from. They tried to blackball me, kept me out, talked bad about me, said I wasn't good enough and couldn't beat these top welterweights. But I just kept my head to the sky and kept praying to God for the opportunity to show the world how great Terence Crawford is. And tonight, I believe I showed how great I am.
in Las Vegas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now I want to bring up, he is the
Crawford certainly demonstrated the power of his jab during the fight, with Mike Tyson calling it a battering ram that kept Spence under constant pressure throughout. "He's a tremendous talent with a great jab," Tyson said, highlighting Crawford's standout ability. Since Crawford claimed the WBO welterweight title with a TKO win over Jeff Horn in June 2018, fans had been calling for a showdown with Spence. However, a major obstacle stood in the way: rival promoters. Crawford was with Top Rank, while Spence was aligned with PBC, and the two companies rarely worked together, making the fight difficult to arrange. Crawford emphasized that when you're one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, you expect people to get the details of your career right, especially when sitting across from fellow champions in combat sports.
Real boxer to be undisputed champion in the two divisions for the first time in the four-belt era. There is an undisputed welterweight champion of the world. This man, 40 wins, no losses. He remains undefeated here tonight. The best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, from Omaha, Nebraska, we present to you.
Even UFC legend Kamaru Usman wasn't immune to a little fact-checking when he tried to recall a key moment from Terence Crawford's career, only to have Bud hilariously set the record straight. The slip-up happened on the Pound-for-Pound podcast with Usman and Henry Cejudo, and it had everyone in splits, including Crawford himself. The conversation, which started off discussing Crawford's future, took a turn when Usman confidently tried to recall a specific fight, only to walk straight into a factual brick wall. "I saw you got the belt off the Jamaican dude, am I right?" Usman asked, trying to pinpoint the moment Crawford became champion. Crawford, visibly amused, let Usman continue, but it wasn't long before he had to correct him. "I think that you were knocked down. Which fight was that?" "You fought Jeff Horn in Australia." Usman continued. That was all Crawford needed to hear. With a smirk, he shut it down immediately, pointing out the mistake and making the moment even funnier for everyone involved.
You know, he just keep getting up. Like, he like, man, I'm not giving up. I don't care what you do. I'm gonna keep getting up and I'm gonna keep fighting. So, you know, yeah, he did what he had to do to last the time that he lasted.
Do you think the ref should have stopped it?
Yes.
Crawford, laughing at Usman's mix-up, quickly pointed out, "I never fought in Australia." Usman, still determined to make sense of his memory, asked again, "Who did you fight in Australia?" Crawford responded, "Jeff Horn was in the MGM." By this point, Henry Cejudo, no stranger to smack talk, burst into laughter as Usman realized he had fumbled a key fact. Usman's claim that Crawford had been knocked down wasn't just wrong, it was a mistake Crawford had to correct before. The confusion likely came from a 2019 fight against Amir Khan, where Crawford was momentarily off balance from a counter shot by Khan. Some fans believed it should have been ruled a knockdown, but the referee called it a slip, meaning Crawford's record stayed spotless.
Stop it. Right, yeah,
But
no,
I think-
you think he should have stopped it at that time, because even when he stopped it, Errol was, put his hands up like, I'm still going. Do you think that was the time to stop the fight?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think that his corner should have stepped in the 7th round. You know, I feel as if, they believed in Errol, but at the same time, they should have saved the fighter from himself.
With an unblemished record and a reputation for making elite-level fighters look average, Crawford doesn't just win, he dominates. While some fighters have had knockdowns waved off or had their perfect records debated due to questionable referee decisions or stoppages, Crawford has never had to explain away a moment where he was truly down. Think about it. Plenty of boxing legends, like Muhammad Ali, Manny Pacquiao, and even Floyd Mayweather, have hit the canvas at some point. Mayweather, despite officially having only one knockdown on his record, had a few shaky moments in his career. But Crawford? He remains untouched. That's not just a testament to his skill, it speaks to how complete of a fighter he is. His defense is elite, his footwork is masterful, and his ability to absorb shots without going down is borderline absurd. So when Usman casually slipped in a "you've been knocked down" comment, Crawford wasn't just correcting him. He was reminding the world that his record and his legacy speak for themselves.